Hey everybody, it's Taki117 here, back with our Gilly Exploration mission. We are on the launch pad and ready to launch. So we're going to open up our Ascent and Guidance window, scoot that over a little bit so we can see our MechJeb menu. We are not going to limit our angle of attack, and hopefully we do not crash. So we're going to engage our autopilot. Select a target for a timed launch. This may or may not work. Alright, so looks like we have about a 2-hour countdown. So we're going to warp. And here we go. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition and liftoff. That is a beautiful rocket. I've just now realized I forgot solar panels on my command module. So yeah, this isn't going to go well. That's not entirely true. I'm sure we'll be just fine. Our engines are producing plenty of electrical power, but we are starting a gravity turn. Excellent. And we can actually watch that happen. We are the white line. The red line is our projected gravity turn. I am no longer limiting my angle of attack, so hopefully we can follow that line rather precisely. Our outer liquid fuel boosters are feeding into our central core, and you can see them going down much faster than our center booster. We're at 16 kilometers. Let's see, what's our orbit look like? Orbit info. We're just going to drag that down here. Beautiful Korolev cross from our boosters, thanks to those solid rocket separatrons that we put on top. If you don't know what a Korolev cross is, I don't know where the name specifically comes from, or the Korolev part. But when the Russian Soyuz rocket launches, when it jettisons its boosters, they make that cross shape as they peel away from the rocket. This is due primarily to aerodynamic forces. We kind of artificially did it with solid rocket boosters. Alright, we are going a little high of our predicted curve, but that's okay. Apoapsis out to 899, 100 meters. So the main reason I'm using MechJeb specifically is because it's, as you can see, it's got a ton of tools to use. And it's a lot of information for building and flying rockets. And I like the Ascent Guidance. I don't have to manually steer a rocket. I can just click a button and let it go. It does its own thing. And as you can see, it will even circularize our burn for us. We have 2,300 meters a second of delta V, so we will have a little less than 1,900-ish by the time we're done with this burn. Which honestly should be more than enough to get us at least into Kerbal orbit, orbit around the sun of the system, the system's star. So we're just aligning our rocket now. And we are going to warp to the node, or we're going to sit here for about a minute and a half. I'm not entirely sure which. Oh, there it goes. We're going to warp just a little bit to our node. We're going to start our burn here in a couple of seconds. Right about now. There we go. And this is going to put us in a circular orbit. Oh, beautiful sunrise. There we are, we're in orbit. Not exactly circular, but close enough for government work. 0.666. This mission is doomed. Doomed. Alright, so we are going to advance transfer to another planet and do a pork chop selection. What this does is it will, based on the relative positions of the planets, it will plot the course for lowest delta V. In 1 year, 158 days. You know what? It looks like we just missed our transfer window. If we're looking here, 1.5 versus just over 1,000. I will wait a year. I know you guys don't want to. So I will see you when we're ready to leave. Okay, we are back with our rocket. It is currently rotating into position. We are about 8 minutes from our node after a year and a half in space. Fortunately, our Kerbals don't need to eat, breathe, or survive in any way. We have plenty of electric charge, way more than I thought we did, actually. I thought we would, rather. And once we drop this initial lifter / transfer stage, our rocket will rotate quite a bit faster. Alright, here we go, warping to our node. Another beautiful Kerbin rise. Sunrise, Kerbal rise. I don't know what to call it. Here on Earth we call it a sunrise because we call our local star the sun. Very inventive, I know. But in Kerbal Space Program, they call their local star Kerbal. So yeah, I don't know. There we go. Okay. I was a little worried that it did not fire our engines early. That's a little weird. Honestly, though, doesn't matter a whole lot. We can do a mid-course correction. Find that engine. We're going to move that down there. Okay. Another couple hundred meters a second. 3, 2, 1. Burn is complete. And now our Kerbals will settle in for a very long ride. Because all they have is this little command pod. I did not give them anything, really. But regardless, I will see you when we get to Eve. Hey, just wanted to pop in here real quick. I am making a mid-course correction. This will fine-tune my closest approach to Eve down to about 270 kilometers. Adjusting things like inclination, orbital period, stuff like that. And there we go. Move is done. Beautifully. And now, I'm actually going to kill my rotation. And because I only have 46 meters a second left in this stage, I'm going to go ahead and drop it. And we're going to watch. Oh, that was beautiful. Oh, because nothing actually happened. Alright, let's try that again. Oh, that is a beautiful separation. So these two halves of our rocket are going to drift apart. And once again, I will see you when we get to Eve. And there it is. There is Eve in about 30 seconds. 240-kilometer orbit, which is beautiful. But as soon as we cross into the sphere of influence, we're going to do some stuff. Mostly because we don't actually want to go into orbit around Eve. I mean, we do, sort of. But our goal is Gilly, which is actually a moon of Eve. There we go. Alright. So we are going to zoom in and actually see if I can set our focus. No, I can focus on Gilly. Grr. Alright, we're going to do this blind. So I'm going to add a maneuver there. And we're going to try and circularize at that altitude. Well, maybe not circularize, but certainly you know what? I'm going to trash that node. We're going to try again. This is going to be pure. Nope. Okay. So we're going to use our maneuver planner. See, this is why at an altitude of 500 kilometers. Let's see what that looks like. Oof. We'll go 5 million kilometers. Or 5,000 kilometers, rather. Alright, getting better. 50,000 kilometers? Ooh. Actually, that's not terrible. Alright. What if I don't want to circularize? I just want to get into an orbit. Alright. That's not gonna work. Oh. I don't like that it's so much, but I also don't have a whole lot of choice. So here's what we're going to do. Okay. So we've set it up so that our engine is going to take us most of the way through the burn, and then once that's done, we will use our command pod return fuel. Now, do keep in mind that Kerbin has an atmosphere, so I can just aerobrake at Kerbin and not have to use hardly any delta V. The main reason I'm not doing it at Eve is, one, because the atmosphere is so thick, and two, I'm not actually trying to get to Eve. So we're going to go ahead and execute that node, and as you can see, because we are much lighter, our ship is turning much faster. We're going to align with that node. And we're going to hope for the best. Hopefully this works the way I want it to, and I don't end up losing my lander, because that would be bad. Not terrible. And our lander does have some fuel on board. So if I end up not needing my lander, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 minute to burn. Handful of seconds. Excellent. See, this is the other reason I like MechJeb, is it does everything for me, so I don't have to, like, think. We are a little bit off on our alignment for Gilly, but that's okay. Alright, executing that burn. I will say that Gilly has one of the smallest spheres of influence in Kerbal Space Program. Only, I want to say, like, maybe 200 kilometers, if that. So, super tiny. Alright, we're getting close to the end of our burn. Please work. Oh, beautiful. There's our tiny little lander there. Oh, absolutely beautiful. Okay, 1,500 meters a second left in our lander, or in our return stage. Hopefully ditching that lander when the time comes will give us some extra delta V. So let's home and transfer to target. Alright, that's going to be a 28-day maneuver, but only 122 meters a second of delta V. This is why I wanted to have my orbit as big as possible, so that any maneuvers I make would be tiny, relatively speaking. So I will see you in about 28 days. Okay, we've just completed our maneuver. I apologize for not actually showing the burn. It really wasn't all that impressive. But it is now 13 days to Gilly. As you can see, we're going to go out a little bit and start falling towards Gilly. And eventually end up in its sphere of influence. However, there is one very important thing that we have to do first. And that is dock with our lander. So don't care about orbit info. We're going to transfer crew. We're going to put Valentina into our lander. And she, as you can see, she has moved to the lander. Now, you're probably wondering, you know, why, how did this happen? Kerbal magic. And actually, I want to undo that. Okay. So now we have about 14 cut. Alright, so now we have about 13 days to Gilly Sphere of Influence. So we need to put our lander in the correct orientation. So we're going to open our docking port. We are going to undock from our lander. Push off just a little bit. Now comes the fun part. We're going to rotate around. I want to turn that off and just use the standard stability assistance system. Set that as my target. And we're going to do something called chase the meatball. The meatball being that giant pink circle in the middle. There we go. Almost there. Slight misalignment, but that's okay. There we go. We are docked with our lander. And now we can do a proper crew transfer. Transfer Valentina into our lander can. Now she just went through the docking port like they did on the Apollo mission. We can also get rid of this ring. Alright, I'm going to save real quick in case this all goes wrong. Oh, good. Alright, so we have about 1,200 meters a second of delta V to get us back to Kerbin. This is good, actually. Unfortunately, because Gilly's sphere of influence is so small, we've actually lost our encounter. So we want to fine-tune our closest approach. We want a 10-kilometer approach, and it's 1.1 meters per second. So I'm actually just going to do this manually with RCS. In a day. So here we go. Four hours. I don't want to warp much faster than this. You can see we are slowly falling towards Eve. One hour. And I've missed my node entirely. Oh well. It's honestly not that big a deal. I will just execute this node with RCS. And then plot another node. Oh. We do get an encounter. Okay, cool. So, once again, I will see you in about 12 days. Okay, we are 30-ish seconds, 25 seconds from our Gilly encounter. So close now. Turn our RCS off. And as soon as we get into our sphere of influence, we're going to set our orbit for an altitude of 10 kilometers. Alright. We're going to circularize an altitude of 10 kilometers. It's only going to cost us 30 meters a second, so we're going to go ahead and execute that. Escape velocity for Gilly is only about 35 meters per second. So I could theoretically EVA down to the surface and back up. And I might actually try that. Now, I do only have a single Kerbal lander, so if I can't EVA back up, that's an issue. It's a big issue. There we go. Capture burn on the dark side. Sorry you can't see a whole lot. But there we go. I don't really want to go much lower than this, just because of how bumpy Gilly is. I might actually run into something. There we are. We're gonna point prograde. Reason for that is so our lander is retrograde. And I am going to attempt an extreme EVA where I land on Gilly with nothing but a Kerbal. But I will save that for next episode. So until next time, I'm Taki117, and remember, it's only rocket science.